This is NBR Today. Subcontractors who lost money after Ebert Construction collapsed are being warned to take legal advice as a deadline closes today for them to have their say on how retention trust money is distributed. PwC receivers are rushing through a court application so they can get about 75% of the $3.7 million held in retentions dished out to subcontractors before Christmas. The case is the first major test of the retentions regime under the Construction Contracts Act. Under that law, construction firms are meant to hold money on trust for subcontractors in case of collapse. PwC says 152 subcontractors may have a claim to the fund, which relates to 21 different projects. A year after the coalition government was formed, Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters is confident it's fulfilling its promises. Mr Peters says reports of miscommunication between the coalition partners over employment law changes and the refugee quota were fake news, insisting the government's had no teething problems and instead has got on with what it said it would do. He spoke to NBR's Grant Walker about how more reform is needed, but the people in Parliament need reforming first. But he's not talking about MPs on the government side of the House.
In modern politics, how shall I say it, the character and the experience of professionalism in a wide range of professions is not here in the numbers that it should be. There are too many people who are philosophic clones. I'm not saying which pay that is, but they're in opposition. Philosophic clones in selling one argument that neoliberalism works. Well, after 34 years, it's demonstrated that it hasn't worked. And it's a high time a few people in the elite controls of the media got that clear in their heads. It ain't working.
And once upon a time, Winston Peters could be relied on to complain about appalling immigration decisions. That's according to Rodney Hyde, who has criticised Immigration Minister Ian Lees-Galloway for granting convicted criminal and Czech migrant Karel Schrubeck's residency.
If Winston Peters was in opposition, he would slice and dice this minister to pieces. This minister would be gone if Winston Peters was in opposition, because he would be every day into him. You can't imagine a worse case. Hell's Angels associate, criminal gang member back in his country, comes in under a fake ID, gets involved in importing drugs, 5 years plus in jail, and what? Instead of deporting him, we're making him lawful to stay in the country. It's totally unacceptable. And I don't believe this government has checked whether he's at risk. We know from the parole board that he's considered to be a liar.
ANZ Bank's net profit in New Zealand for the year ended September rose 12% to just under $2 billion. Its preferred measure, cash profit, grew at a slower 3% pace. The bank also announced it has ended plans to float its finance arm, UDC. A potential NZX listing for the plant and equipment lender was on the cards after its sale to China's debt-laden HNA Group was vetoed by the Overseas Investment Office. ANZ's New Zealand Chief Executive David Hisco says UDC continued to perform strongly while the bank was considering its options, and sale talks are now on hold while it focuses on growing the business. The Trans-Pacific Trade Deal, the CPTPP, will come into force at the end of December, after Australia became the 6th country to ratify the deal. Under the agreement, it could come into force once 6 countries have ratified it. The deal will cut tariffs on New Zealand goods by $200 million a year, but the economic benefits are much greater, with one Japanese study estimating it could be worth $3 billion a year to the New Zealand economy. After returning from his visit to the US and Canada, Trade Minister David Parker says the CPTPP can function like an insurance policy as political difficulties weaken the World Trade Organization.
The future of the World Trade Organization is not assured, if I could put it that way, which means the relative importance of other agreements like CPTPP just increases by the day. And so, that's pretty damned important that that's going to be triggered.
Initial research from diversity collective Champions for Change reveals how quickly Kiwi women drop out of the leadership pipeline in corporate organisations. The survey of more than 80,000 employees, or 3% of the Kiwi working population, delves deep into gender representation across management levels. Champions for Change co-chairwoman Michelle Embling says the point of the research is to allow organisations to compare and decide on benchmarks for themselves. She spoke to NBR's Victoria Young about the reasons why women are dropping out of these leadership roles.
We know that part of the answer is in flexibility, but that's not just for women. Increasingly, everyone wants to have more balance in their lives. But part of it is enabling people to balance their work and life responsibilities. Another part of it is it's really hard to be what you can't see. So role models and sponsorship is really, really important.
And tomorrow, we speak to Finance Minister Grant Robertson about the state of the books and the economy. So just how confident is he that the economy will continue to grow strongly? For more on that and other stories, head to our website and have a great evening.
To unlock your 2 free articles a week, head to nbr.co.nz.